It's Thrive O'Clock somewhere. I'm here with Tate Stewart, Senior Vice President of Operations, and you told me not to read your bio from the website. Why is that?
My wife doesn't love it.
Happy wife, happy life. So how would you
She's no longer a nursing student. She's been an RN for 2 years, so maybe that's the primary.
I need to update that website.
Yeah.
I'm going to update it. So what do you do here at Thrive Senior Living?
Primarily, I support the teams in the communities.
Okay.
So, and specifically the leadership teams. So we've got, the community, the kind of backbone of the community is a leadership team of, anywhere from 7, 8, 9 people. And my primary job is to spend time with those individuals, be sure they have the tools, resources, everything they need.
And you are uniquely qualified to do that because you yourself were a president at a community in Brownwood in Tennessee, correct?
Right. Georgia, actually, but yes.
Georgia, sorry. It's right on the border.
It's right on the border.
You go like 2 blocks down, you're in a different state.
Right.
So how long were you the president of Brownwood?
I was there for almost 2 years.
2 years? Okay. And that's a very vibrant community. That is a very sought out after community. What was it like being president of Brownwood? I mean, they're on a mountain. It's called Lookout Mountain, right?
Yeah.
What was that like?
It was an incredible experience. Whenever, I came from a different career path and got exposed to senior living and thought, this is really cool. This has a lot of purpose attached to it. There were some really great people at Thrive. And I was like, you know what? This sounds like a little adventure. And so we're going to move to from Houston to Chattanooga, Tennessee, work on Lookout Mountain in Georgia. And it was incredible. The people there were incredibly welcoming. There were some really talented, capable, talk about that leadership team kind of being the backbone of the team. There were some really great people on that team that made us successful. It certainly wasn't anything I knew. I knew maybe about people and leadership and business, but I knew very little about senior living. And so fortunately, there were some really capable people on that team. They welcomed me with open arms. There were some great residents there. They welcomed me with open arms. And we had a lot of success at that community. I think we took it from, just under 70% occupancy to 100% occupancy and built a substantial wait list, and it stayed that way for a long time. Lost a little bit of census kind of over the last 2 years in COVID, but now it's kind of right there back at full capacity. So,
well, that leads me into building a community because we're coming out of isolation for a few years now. I mean, is it over? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it seems like people are yearning for a community. I live in a similar community like this that's for younger adults, right? I love it. I yearn for that. So I guess my first question is, how does Thrive build a community? And what makes that different than any other senior living option that someone could choose from out there?
I think building community really is at the heart of what we do. When you think about the older adults and today, even with technology, if you really spend time doing what we do, we meet a lot of folks that are somewhat isolated. They're somewhat cut off in some form or another from really having full access to the services, the relationships, the things that they need to thrive. And so, the kind of common scenario is that older adult that they're capable, they can get around and drive, but maybe not when the weather's bad or maybe not when it's dark. And they're seeing a gradual decline, right? Their family wants to support them, but they're busy too, right? They can use technology, but not great. And it's always changing, right? And so it's
oh my goodness. Even I have a hard time keeping up.
While a lot of times we think about like, oh, well, really you could have everything you need like in your home and you could we got technology and all these services, and it's not always that realistic. I think it's realistic for some people, but for the majority, it's not that smooth, and they end up doing whether that's without quality meals or without as many doctor's visits as they need or without as much social interaction as they need.
Or medication management.
Or without quality medication management. And they end up doing without. And, they're that kind of increases speed of decline. It decreases quality of life. And, it's not uncommon whenever you get people plugged in that you just see, a lot of times you see them kind of coming back to life. You see them get healthier. You see them start moving better. You see them start almost like they're reversing the aging process for a short period of time, just because they're getting quality nutrients back, they're getting social interaction back, and they're getting good exercise because they have to come down for meals, and or maybe they're going to exercise classes and they're getting all those things, and it's really incredible what can happen whenever people move into senior living communities. The thing that we have to overcome is that stigma that's out there, that it's bad or that it's institutional or whatever. Really, it's luxury, and it's community, and it's service, and it's a group of people that are doing everything to build that community. I think about building a community around these older adults so they do have access to all those things, whether that's transportation or partnerships with physical therapy groups and home health groups, so that they really have access to all the services. And our job kind of becomes community builder and kind of quality control, accountability on some of these. If like with a home health aide, they're going to be screened and all that kind of stuff. The question is, like, is it a good company, right? Like, for us, we've gone through all the companies in the area, and so one of the things we really focus on, you ask like differentiators for Thrive, like one thing we really focus on is our partnerships, right? And so if we refer a home health company, we'll always have like one or two or three that we've vetted and we know these are the best in the area.
And what are you looking for? Like, what's your basis?
A number of things. A lot of times it comes back to, like, we want a relationship with them, right? We want to know who the leadership is in that company, whoever their director is or their regional or whatever, and have a relationship with them so that we can influence the process, right? Because at the end of the day, if there's an aide that's coming in that's rude or that the residents don't like or shows up late or doesn't show up, we want to know we can pick up the phone and call and say, like, hey, you got to stop sending this person. We want to change.
Have some accountability.
And 10 times out of 10, whenever we have the right partnership, we can make those phone calls, and that's how we build that community, and we act as that kind of community hub, kind of service coordinator, kind of quality control, kind of
an aggregator in a way.
Aggregator,
right?
for all these services that have to come together. Caring for older people, whether they're independent, assisted, or memory care, aging becomes complex. It just does. And for most people, yes, there's a few folks out there that they don't need a lot. They really are just, healthy or whatever. They're different. But for most people, it becomes a little complicated. You've got medication, you've got food, you've got nutrition, you've got mobility challenges, even for the most independent folks, right?
Yeah.
And even furthermore, even if you are on that side, if you're a super independent person thinking like, I don't need it yet, changes can happen very quickly. And so, if you've ever moved in your life, like, you don't want to go through a drastic change and then try and make a move. And so, I always feel like it's our responsibility to help people make that decision earlier, so that whenever they do go through a change, that they're already home. They can come back home to a community where they can start plugging in resources and providers and all the things they need.
Michelle mentioned a lot of people are waiting too long to make the decision for senior living when, you're already having all these ailments and you really can't take advantage of the community at the fullest potential if you're going right into memory care, right?
Yeah.
So what age should someone start thinking about senior living, or the savings part, or in general?
I think that brings us to, we go down a rabbit hole of, I think there's biological age versus chronological age.
Interesting.
So there's a ton of research right now around aging, and what, the number piece of it is really not, your chronological age is really not relevant.
Amen to that. I'm not 39, I'm 29.
We can't actually test now for biological age. And so I think it's different for everyone. And you certainly see the spectrum of people that their biological age is very different, right? So they're 95, but you really wouldn't know it. It's like, they could be 85, they could be 80, they could be 75.
That's so true. I've met a few people they told me they're 95. Is like, I thought you were 65. It
Yeah.
blew my mind. It changed my mind about aging.
Yeah. And and a lot of that has to do with lifespan and how long people are living and that kind of stuff. And to go further down that rabbit hole, there's I talked about whenever people move into a senior living community, sometimes you see like, man, like they they've got color back in their skin, and they would get phone calls from the family that's happy they've been in years. And you can, there's science, there's studies. We can reverse biological age to some extent. So is that to say we can, you can go, I can be 25 again? No, but can I slow down my aging process? Can I get a few years back? Absolutely. And that comes from, things like getting quality sleep, exercise, nutrition are at the top of the list. The being on the right medications, getting off medications. So when you start thinking about that in the context of older adults and what we do, there's some great research, Harvard University, and some great podcasts that we could link here that I could shoot you. But
check the description for that
on the aging stuff. But so back to your question, like what age? That's the question's not even relevant.
I love that answer.
There's
it's all in your head, man.
There's people that for whatever reason they've had whatever illnesses and whatever things have advanced their aging process, and they should be looking a lot earlier than other people. They should be looking. I think there's plenty of people that should be looking at independent living in their 60s, maybe in the late 50s. I think there's plenty of people that should be looking at assisted living in their late 60s, early 70s. So without getting too technical, I think that's a long ways, I think, from where we're really at today. Today, if we get someone in their mid 60s into an independent living community, that is very early. I think we've got one resident here that's 66. Mm-hmm. But that's very early. So typically it's, it's late 70s and that people are starting to think about independent living. And yeah, I absolutely think that could be significantly earlier. People could be plugged in, they could have the community. And I think they could stave off a lot of the changes that do come and avoid some of the kind of stair-step changes by, being able to be plugged into some of the services that are available.
And I think of the all the amenities, right? Like that's what brings me to apartment complexes. What amenities do they have? And so I'm thinking here, when someone comes to a Thrive independent living community, it's like, well, now you don't need a gym membership. You don't need to go out to the movies because there's a cinema here. What are some other amenities you think in the long run save people money? Because if you're living alone at home, you go out to the movie theater, you have a gym membership, you have a social club, right? A lot of places have social clubs you pay for. This is a social club.
I think the amenities are the amenities. I mean, every community has a cinema. Every community has a restaurant.
But our cinema is better, truly, because I've seen a lot of senior living. Because some of them are just like literally like a 70-inch TV,
right,
like in some like dinky chairs. These are movie-style theater seats,
right,
and a huge like 150-inch screen. So
sure.
Sorry, I'm a movie buff, so I'm so excited about that.
But at the end of the day, the amenities are the amenities. It really is back to where we started. It's the community, right? So it's like, who are the people? Who's the person that's choosing the movie, that's asking me what I like, that's pushing play? And that's what it comes down to. Same with the dining experience, right? And it's, again, it all comes back to the community. And not everyone is, a socialite that wants to be plugged into everything, but everyone wants some meaningful connection, right? And wants some relationships. And even if it's, I'm pretty introverted myself, but I love whenever I have some sort of relationship with someone that I'm just feel like they know me and I can nod my head and wave and it's like, feels good. And you put that in the context of older adults. Again, it's like knowing that there's someone sitting down at the front desk that can help me if I get, whatever, my TV's messed up or I can't figure out how to get the Uber on my phone or whatever. Knowing that there's other residents around that can help me that are solving some of these same challenges themselves, right? Is critical. And having a lot of like-minded people doing that in one place and having that community is, that's really at the heart of what we do.
What are you looking for when selecting a Thrive team member to hit on all these points to build a community like you're talking about?
Yeah, good question. I think we think about we talk about the selection process. We really think about trying to balance, the experience and the skill set with the character and the values in the person. And
what kind of values are you looking for in someone?
I'll stay away from like the cliche core value kind of list.
Comparing, compassionate.
Yeah, caring, compassionate, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, everyone has to be those things. In senior living, I think it's really unique that I think a lot of organizations exist for really to provide opportunities for their team members. So if you take, if I wanted to go work at, I don't know, if I had an executive in the McDonald's organization, I could find purpose in that. My purpose wouldn't be in serving chicken nuggets. My purpose would be in the opportunities that I could provide for the team members. And I think in any organization, you can become very purpose driven by focusing on your team members. And there's, this is widely accepted and understood in leadership, is that to really put purpose into any business, you focus on the team members, and that can bring a really great sense of purpose in business. And that, like, for me, that's something that's non-negotiable, is I have to have that sense of purpose in what I do, just to stay engaged and feel motivated.
So you're looking for that purpose in the people you hire as well.
So
right?
in senior living, though, it's a little bit different, because we're not serving chicken nuggets. We're not building widgets, right? We're serving older adults, right? And, this is maybe it's not politically correct to say it's a frail, the vulnerable population. As far as the spectrum goes, older adults are more vulnerable. They are more frail. And so what that mindset of, really putting the team member first over our end user, I actually don't think it works in senior living. And that's not like a gasp moment, because what I think that means is that it flattens our hierarchy in our organization. It's not, you work for me, so I'm here to care for you and provide opportunity for you. It's, I don't care if you're a caregiver or a leader in our community, or a housekeeper, we work alongside you. In fact, if anything, you're closer to the work and you're above me in the hierarchy, because what we do is care for older adults, and that has to stay at the center of what we do. And so again, the way that doesn't make our team members less significant, it actually makes our executives less significant.
Yeah.
It actually flattens the hierarchy. And that's my whole, we've tried to really shift kind of some of our operating models and spend a lot more time in the communities and travel a lot more. And it's been really incredible for me to feel like I'm truly part of that. And I have residents that know me now at a lot of communities, right?
That's
and they team members that know me. And so what I'm looking for, back to the original question, roundabout way of getting there is, we're looking for that team member that gets that, right? And as much as I hate it, use the labor today, for example, right? Like, labor is terrible. I don't want our team members having to sacrifice home life and time and all that kind of stuff. Like, I deeply want them to not work a ton of overtime, but when there's shifts to be worked and when there's work to be done, we don't have a team member. Like, we want the team member that's going to make personal sacrifices, not for me, not for
the residents,
100% for the residents. And, so that's, and then also for the person next to them, right? So it's people that understand I'm here for the resident and I'm part of this team. I can't do it by myself, right? So those are really the two key things. Like, people that really understand, like, the heart of everything we do is the older adult, like, at the center. People that really get that are willing to make, personal sacrifices to fulfill that calling that we have, and are willing to lock arms and do it with the people around them, and not, the idea of Stephen Covey's interdependence, right? Highly independent people in senior living kind of undermine the operation, because it does have to be so connected.
Yeah.
One person cannot do it. These businesses are so dynamic and so complex. These communities are so dynamic and so complex. All the services that are aggregated together, as we were talking about, it's really complicated. We never close. It's 24 hours a day, 365 days a week. or 365 days a year. Christmas, we're working.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, we're working.
It's a service industry.
Midnight, we're there. And so, there's very, very few businesses that actually operate that way, right? I mean, even your 24-hour Walmart is closing on, Christmas Eve, and not us. And so, then we're back to that. People that are willing to make those personal sacrifices and aren't going to call out and leave the team stranded and leave the resident, without a service they need. So
it makes me think of when you talk about going into communities, I'm interested. I'm going to tell you my story first, but I want to hear yours. Is traveling to all the different Thrive communities. I'm like there doing videos. I'm like, okay, I gotta do these 3 videos. I got this many hours to do it. But then like, so say, hey, can you help me with my phone? Can you I can't tell you how many phones I've fixed to make the text bigger, or hey, can you help me move this couch, or can you help me hang this TV? I'm like, yeah, sure. So, but what would you say is your number one thing that people ask you to do when you go into a senior living community? Because we're always doing different things, helping people, right? It's a service industry. No matter your title.
I think the number one thing people do is, you tell the health of a community pretty quickly, because people see us walking down the hallway and they quickly know that, the management company is here. And so I'm not directly answering your question. More often, people ask me change light bulbs or do stuff that tall people need to do because I'm tall.
Tall people problems all the time, dude, all the time.
But most often people take the opportunity to tell me how great the people there are. Is my typical experience. So residents and family members always grab me and they're like, I just want to tell you, you're whatever person here is amazing.
Tate, I've seen so many senior living commercials in my research. I'm like, this is so fake. It's like daisies and the sun is constantly shining. Right now it's an overcast day in Montville, New Jersey. It's it's like, am I watching a Lunesta ad, or is this a senior living commercial? What I do like about Thrive is how we've been able to not have any paid actors in our ads. I literally just go into a community and be like, hey, who's the person that would let me interview them and follow them around for a day? Yeah. Which I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's good.
What's your quick fire questions here? What's your favorite Thrive community? Putting you on the spot, dude.
That's tough.
And you have to give me a reason why.
I think it's Brownwood. That's an easy reason. Because
you were the president.
I have so many relationships there.
Yeah.
And know so many people there. But that community, you've been there. It's
gorgeous.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
From the, the landscaping to, you cross the road that it's on is called Scenic Highway for a reason. You can cross the road and you just look over. I don't know if you've ever gone over the bluff there.
Oh yeah.
You just see for, 100 miles.
People, it's right on this mountain. People go hang gliding off of it.
Yeah.
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 So the Thrive at Brownwood, you can be there for the day. You can just literally walk across the street and you have this beautiful view. And that's where I always take my lunches. And a lot of older adults go out there and eat.
I pull up to that community and my blood pressure goes down. You can feel it.
Yeah.
It's just oh man, just the nature.
And that's the oxygen level actually. The altitude. So in senior living, there's a lot of people aging into needing assisted living, right? Or independent living. I'm seeing more senior communities pop up every day. Mm-hmm. Where do you see Thrive in 5 or 10 years? Is there anything new? I know we're on the forefront of independent living communities. This is one of the nicest communities I've ever been in, the Montville, the way it's laid out, the huge social court, taking a huge piece of real estate, saying, no, we're not going to fill that with rooms, so we're going to make this an area to build community.
Yeah.
Where do you see Thrive in 5 or 10 years?
I think the current model of senior living is actually really good. I think a lot of people are out there talking about what's next, how to evolve it, and all that kind of stuff. And there's certainly a place for that. But I think that, this community, this model of independent living, assisted living, and memory care, and also the model of just assisted living and memory care, I think those are great models that serve a lot of people really well. And I think what people don't want, it's not as fun to talk about how do we just do what we're doing better.
It's true. How to build community better.
It's easy to move to the next thing and never have. I think there's still so much on the table forget Thrive at Montville, forget even independent living, the IL memory care, right? Just go to the traditional senior living product, assisted living and memory care. Maybe 100 units, split 70-30 between assisted living and memory care. And there is still so much we can do from a building community aspect, from aggregator of services and kind of reducing friction of the aging experience and helping people reverse some of that biological age and really live healthy and happy in their later years. And there's so much work to be done.
So more technology in senior living or less technology?
No opinion. Again, I don't think the technology is, you get into a community like this, like we've got to have a great piece of technology for like the POS system, because we got to be able to run like the coffee shop and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Checking people, COVID and, tracking and all that.
We need like technology for medication management. That it's just a best practice, right? Do we need smart TVs and all that kind of stuff? No. Yeah. I think one place that we can really utilize technology right now, and there will be some robots in this community.
Really?
But I think robots could really, we see post-COVID, one thing that I see is the in-room dining experience. I kind of learned to like it at home, right? It's like just order in and just eat and throw it all away, and don't want to put on clothes and go out and whatever. So we see, it's undeniable whereas at a typical meal, let's take that typical community, 100 suites of AL memory care, at a typical, maybe we'd have, 5 or 6 residents that didn't want to come out. And there would be a reason for it, right? It's like, yeah, they weren't feeling well, or they're not very mobile right now because they're doing some rehab or whatever. And now, like, that number's doubled or tripled. And so a lot of people are just like, I just want to stay in my room. Now, there's some implications of that. It's like, well, we want you to come out and engage. Like, are they becoming isolated? Is there a social component that we need to nurture them out? But for a lot of people, it's no. I just want to eat dinner in my rooms now. I come out for breakfast and lunch, and most of the time I'm going to want to eat dinner in my room. From a service standpoint, it's very, like, we're not set up to have somebody running and delivering meals to rooms. And so, if you dig in with hotels, like, hotels hate room service. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to deliver it. Like, they're not really set up for it either. Yeah. That's why it takes 45 minutes.
It's annoying. And I love room service. And I'm like, this is what I came here for. Yeah. I'm seeing less and less of it.
Exactly. But they either don't do it or they do it terribly. And so I think this is an opportunity where, like, there are robots now that it's like, we can plate it up, put it in the thing in the kitchen, and like hit room 323, and it'll go up the elevator and everything.
So you're telling me we're going to have robots and when?
Oh, we're going to have robots here. Yeah.
Like, what's the timetable for that?
You gotta talk to Peter. They're in process. So really? I think he's got a couple that are going to vacuum hallways, and I think he's got one that's going to do like the tray delivery.
No way. We got to name it something fun.
They're going to have names for sure.
Should be JR. You can leave in JR.
Steven Jr.
We got to name one Wally. I feel like there's so many great, robots from the movies.
But I think that's a piece of technology that can really help people, right? Because now we're not taking a caregiver off the floor. We're not taking the server out of the dining room.
Yeah.
And we can still provide, and we can get it there timely.
And but speaking about what we do have adopted as far as technology in senior living is I've seen these cats. They're robotic cats and memory care, like little animals. Yeah. Can you talk to that a little bit?
Memory care is so fascinating, and I think there's still so much that we've learned so much, but so much we still don't know. They say clinical practice is usually 10 years ahead of research. And so, like, stuff that people are doing that's working is usually, it'll be 10 years before there's actually quality research that's validating some of it. So in memory care, you can absolutely, it doesn't have to be a robotic cat. There are, it's weird to talk about because sometimes it honestly feels kind of sad, but it's like, there's at a certain progression of dementia, having just a stuffed dog. I know plenty of residents who have a stuffed dog, and it's like, to them, it's the same as having a pet. They really, they're like petting it and love it, and they'll set it down. Like, where do you go? And
I've also seen babies too.
Babies are popular as well, and they really believe and think that they have a baby in their arms that they're caring for.
That's actually really sweet because, like, there's nothing sweeter than having the purpose of taking care of a child.
When you see it is actually very enriching for that resident, and that's what's sweet about it. So, some of the thinking is like, like it's like a regression. So it's kind of like a young child would have a baby doll they really love and care for, but it's not quite the same because a young child knows that that's not a real baby. Whereas a lot of times that person living with dementia doesn't actually know the difference. But
I would say if that's my parent, I just want them to be happy.
That's right.
You know what I mean? If that makes them happy.
You see the level of engagement and enrichment, and it's a wonderful thing. And so it doesn't, that's not every resident. It's a pretty small cross section of residents that really works for. But when that works for a resident, it's a beautiful thing. So again, like that comes back to, it's not like, oh, you check in, you get your robotic cat, and that's memory care. It's like
no,
it's a much more human approach, and it's like, hey, she keeps talking about pet, and like maybe we could get her something, and it really comes down to caregivers that are, spending time and learning and engaging, and sometimes even on the front side, our community relations director learning some life history, and maybe the family's plugged in enough to know that like she loved her cat, she still talks about it, has the pictures of it, and then we have light bulbs coming on that are like, oh, okay, this could be something that could be enriching for this resident.
And we're going to talk about that more later. Hopefully I can get you for 15 minutes, 20 minutes to talk about memory care, because I'm going to be producing a memory care video trio here later on today. Tate, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, our second episode of It's Thrive O'Clock Somewhere. And look at that. It's Thrive O'Clock Somewhere. We'll do a logo here. Just so you know, Thrive does independent living, assisted living, and memory care. If you want to check out our communities, it's www.thrivesl.com. You can check out that website for more information. Links in the description to some of the studies you spoke of from Harvard.
Yeah.
Awesome.
From podcasts.
Until next time.